welcome to the Stacking to Win It podcast. I'm Big Italy 42 here talking about some options of some offensive stacks for you to utilize in your NFL DFS contest this week. And of course, this another article via at Zach Scott Moxie, one of our writers. Check him out on Twitter. So I'm going to start off with the top stack, and certainly you won't be surprised by this one here. And it's the New England Patriots against the Jacksonville Jaguars. As we know, tons of volume for Julian Edelman, for Rob Gronkowski. Even Deion Lewis has gotten involved quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. So what Zach mentions here is obviously they're his favorite team. They're probably everyone's favorite team to stack. They've got a team total of 30.5. And Tom Brady has been a man on a mission recently. I mean, he threw for over 460 yards last week. This is a Jacksonville defense that is below average in just about every way, especially against tight ends. They were bottom 10 against tight ends last week. And, Patriots, really the main concern here is that they succeed too well, and they do too much in the first half, and they're up too big. But at the same time, this is a competent Jacksonville offense that we saw last week. So got to imagine that maybe they won't keep it necessarily close, but at least competitive enough that Brady will be throwing late. And we didn't quite see it week one when they were up big, but we've seen Brady in the past, just put the pedal to the metal, foot on the throat of the opponent, and continue to pass deep into the game. So that's certainly a possibility here. So he's got mentioned here Brady, Gronkowski, Edelman. You can go with all three of those guys. Then you could go with one of the two guys with Tom Brady, whatever you'd like to do. And he mentions here he thinks that this could be a scenario where we see LeGarrette Blount getting going as a clock killer late in the game, and that's certainly possible as well. So maybe give him a look in a couple of your contests there as well. Really cheap on a lot of sites. Hasn't had a whole lot of usage or many snaps either, but definitely got to keep involved in. If this game does stay close, and this could be Deion Lewis involved as well, because we've seen him heavily involved in the passing game. Next up, the Seahawks against the Bears, and this one's going to be a popular one in cash games to some extent because we're going to see Seahawks who are 0-2. They're at home going up against Jimmy Clausen. This is a team that needs to win, and we're talking about a whole lot of narratives here. We've got, of course, Jimmy Clausen starting for the Bears. We've got Jimmy Graham was complaining about his role in the offense. Marshawn Lynch coming off a subpar game. So very popular Seahawks-Marshawn Lynch duo going to be in a lot of people's cash games this week, and rightfully so. Seahawks with enormous upside in this one. And it's rare that you see a stack that you're encouraging that has a defense in it, but this is certainly a great spot for them in all formats. And he mentions a couple other guys as well there. Like I said, Jimmy Graham, Russell Wilson to throw in there. He's not too expensive either. This Bears team might be the worst overall team in all of football right now. They're bad on offense, bad on defense. They've got injuries, Alshon Jeffrey, Jay Cutler. Just not much going for this team right now. Seahawks in a must-win. It's not going to be pretty for Jimmy Clausen this week. I don't imagine a scenario, and most people don't either, where Jimmy Clausen has much success, especially now Cam Chancellor back this week. And this is a defense that is one of the best, if I say the best in all of football at home. Just a really tough place to play, and this is just not matching up for a good scenario for the Bears. So I will have a ton of the Seattle Seahawks defense, and I suggest that you do the same. Next up, Jets and Eagles. Going value stack, and I love this call here. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brandon Marshall, two guys that Brandon Marshall is the number one guy going up against Byron Maxwell, who's been absolutely terrible. Chris Ivory listed as questionable. Looks like he's on the right side of questionable. Should be able to go, but keep your eye on that. Eric Decker on the wrong side of questionable. So if Ivory sits out, you can see Bilal Powell going in. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brandon Marshall is going to be a popular play. That's one that I'm going to be going to quite a bit this week. And this is a terrible secondary for the Eagles. 377 yards a game allowed on defense so far. That's including the debacle that was last week's game, the Sunday night game against Dallas. That was just not a pretty game at all. So this is certainly a scenario where we could see the Jets putting up a ton of points. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's not putting up gaudy numbers, but you don't need him to at his price tag. This is a guy who's been effective in the small doses that he's needed to pass the ball. And especially if Chris Ivory is banged up, maybe they rely more on the pass game, and they should against this terrible secondary. So I expect Brandon Marshall and Ryan Fitzpatrick to be a nice duo there. And like Zach mentions here, Bilal Powell, pass catching back as well. Guy that gets a lot of garbage time carries, so he's going to be a sneaky way to get yourself some exposure to this good matchup. And the Eagles have been better against the run, but still a situation you can certainly exploit. Next up, Colts and Titans. And this is a scenario where you're either a believer the Colts will bounce back, or you've written them off. You're one of those people who played him, and Andrew Luck burned you, T.Y. Hilton burned you, whoever it may have been. Dante Moncrief certainly didn't burn anybody last week, but this is going to be a fun one here. Luck, Hilton, Moncrief, one of the more volume attacks as far as passing in all of the NFL. Going up against the Titans that are not a very good defense at all. It's essentially the same exact defense as last year. 27th in yards allowed, as Zach mentions here, over 27 points a game last year. Colts need to win this game. This is another scenario where it's Andrew Luck, and it's a team that's 0-2. And Andrew Luck getting a lot of criticisms after his performance last week against the Jets defense that maybe everyone's realizing is actually very good. It's certainly not an excuse for Andrew Luck to play the way he did, but did kind of make up for it in garbage time a little bit each of the last 2 weeks. Andrew Luck, I certainly have the utmost confidence in. Think he'll turn it around. Zach agrees here. This makes for a really fun stack. Luck, Hilton, Moncrief. Take a pick with those two guys. Maybe go value with Moncrief, or go upside with Hilton, or maybe just pair all of them, because there's certainly going to be plenty to go around in this matchup here. And that is going to wrap things up. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Lots of great content for the rest of the MLB season, the rest of NFL, college football. Lots of great things to go around to help you win at all these sports in DFS. And we'll see you guys next time.